Hello! Welcome back to Overclock Showcase. It's finally time to jump back into this series. I actually am more excited than I thought I'd be. Obviously, been on hold a little bit because of a larger video that has gone very well. Thank you everyone for making that an actual decent success. I put a lot of effort into it. Of course, the Overclock balancing video, of which there may be more in the future. There will be, assuming we get new secondary overclocks for Season 6. That's long in the future though, but there might be some more before then anyway. Either way, now we're back on this train. If you remember the last time, I was saddled with a not particularly exciting choice. Oh no, not choice. Well, choice by the Wheel of Fate, which was full chamber seal for the BAABB. Obviously, it was going to be the BAABB. That's how it works. We go in a certain order. We were on the BAABB, but I was randomly given full chamber seal as the next overclock to cover. Wasn't very exciting in the moment. It was even less exciting once I'd finished the big video and was thinking about these videos again. It wasn't a very exciting prospect doing full chamber seal because it's a very boring overclock on a very boring weapon. However, I think there was some sort of trepidation, some hesitation actually to get back into it fully, but I think I kind of need to get past this pretty mediocre overclock so we can get onto the better stuff. And I'll explain a little bit more about how that sort of subsided and how those feelings developed and sort of went away once I get started in the gameplay. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about full chamber seal and the two builds that I've got to show for you today. So full chamber seal is obviously a clean for the BAABB. It adds a small damage boost and a faster reload. Now, if you've been watching Deep Rock YouTube for a while, I don't know who it was. It was probably it feels like it must have been Lazy maybe, but it hasn't done a video on the BAABB specifically, but you might have come across a take about how full chamber seal is just completely, just abhorrently useless. And that's because, well, let's take it off for a moment. It only gives us +1 damage. Yeah. So you look at the normal burst size. Let's take our damage that we've got at the moment. I'm not going to take the damage mods off, but our burst will give us 81 damage in one burst. Full chamber seal is only going to bring that up by adding 1 damage per bullet. That's only going to bring it up to 84 from 81. It's a completely negligible damage bonus, unlike experimental rounds and obviously lead spray, and it's just not worth taking over, honestly, either of the ammo overclocks, but especially compact mags because it's so much free damage. Taking this is just, I don't know. I mean, what I can honestly say is Electromindlets is so bad that it still beats out Electromindlets. Microflechets, I'm not sure though, because Microflechets, it is kind of a joke, but it is good for stun knocking Praetorians. And just having so much ammo to work with, even if your damage is so pathetic, it's still kind of interesting. Anyway, so I thought to myself, well, how can I make such a seemingly ineffectual overclock really matter, you know? Well, first of all, I think faster reload is always something that's nice to have, so I don't think that's a bad part of the overclock at all. I think that's actually probably one of its better aspects. Maybe, probably the good aspect of it. But we are still gaining lots of damage at no expense to our accuracy or our ammo, unlike with experimental rounds or lead spray. Obviously, if I were to consider other overclocks, I would bring up the fact that compact mags is infinitely better because it's just so much more free damage overall. And with how the BAABB works, you can still get through it fairly quickly. And compact mags will rear its head again, and I think it has definitely been featured as a secondary a couple times already. I imagine. Must have been. It's so good. But full chamber seal, it's just a little bit of damage, but there's no downsides. So let's just spec it into damage and see what happens. So I've taken all damage, including hollow point bullets, which is always a difficult take. I think this is a really weird tier. I think hardened rounds especially really does not hold any weight in this tier. Armor breaking as the weapon's function is not worth losing ammo for, because you're losing out on either more ammo or weak point damage, and just having armor breaking is no good. I mean, okay, this isn't an upgrade analysis anyway, so I was taking stun because I think we're going for more compact burst anyway. Given that we're not taking more ammo, I'm not too comfortable taking the 6-round burst. So it's going for short, punchy bursts that have stopping power via the stun. And the recoil is there to help with that as well. We don't really need greater rate of fire or anything like that. Reload speed could be fun because it would bring reload speed down by a lot, but I think the recoil is going to help because I think we do want some level of accuracy. Just a very basic sort of, not machine pistol necessarily, but sort of like high stopping power, precision, killer for for high value targets, and big tanky targets as well. But that is all going to be supplemented by, yeah. So I went for Neurotoxin, and I think it's about time I use Neurotoxin in one of these videos because, look, a lot's changed since Neurotoxin was the king, right? We've gotten, particularly getting the rival faction and the Rockbox faction, which are both sort of, those enemy pools really do go against Neurotoxin. I think mainly because the robots don't get affected by the status effect, but I think that Rockbox is a little bit of a different story because Rockbox is sort of like you still have a lot of ammo because it's the Thunderhead, so you can still pop those blisters pretty easily, and things like the grunts, like the Rockbox grunts, they still go down pretty easily, and you've got a secondary. It's really only a bad pick on sort of rival missions, so on the Industrial Sabotage or something with rival presence. Apart from that, Neurotoxin Payload is still damn near the strongest overclock in the game. Change a little bit. Obviously, we have things like cluster munitions, cluster charges, and like ultramagnetic coils and things like that on the coil gun. There is competition, but Neurotoxin is still an insane powerhouse, even after getting nerfed. So we're going to take ammo. There's no reason not to take ammo. Fire rate kind of just helps to... It's kind of because we don't really need the other options. We don't really need accuracy with Neurotoxin. It kind of just works. Direct damage. Now, that wasn't specifically chosen for this build. How much is this going to change? Oh, let's switch. Let's not talk about that. And obviously radius. Although I do think that the radius thing, I'm going to confirm this actually. I need to confirm this. Okay, so it looks like I was almost about to misinform you. Although I do think this used to be the case. I think it used to be the case that Neurotoxin Payload had its own fixed radius. Even though it increased the effect radius. Basically, it would increase the effect radius to 1.7, but that would be Neurotoxin's radius. I think I might actually be talking about the fear effect. I'm not sure. Either way, obviously, area effect is better. I think when it comes to doing the Neurotoxin video one day, looking forward to that, definitely be one of the builds we'll definitely be using arm breaking. But look, this isn't a Neurotoxin build, but we are using suppressive fire because it's such a powerful upgrade, especially with Neurotoxin, which just lavers enemies in damage over time effect. And the fear allows you to like fire and forget even more so. And because Neurotoxin slows them down, it actually enhances fear. Because if you don't know how fear works, fear doesn't actually... It's not based on duration, it's actually based on distance. It forces enemies to run 10 meters away from the point at which they were feared. The direction is obviously random because sometimes you'll fear a Praetorian and it will run towards you, but not because it's actually going to attack you. But basically, they will just keep going until they've reached 10 meters. I think the distance might change between certain enemies, I'm not sure, but either way, there's a fixed distance that they want to run away from the point of impact. So if you slow them down, it's just going to make them take longer to get there. But they will still have to get there, so it will make them basically be feared for longer. So it's an extremely effective tool to accompany a relatively like compact, low ammo, but like high damage weapon, which is going to be our Burt in this case. So it's a natural pairing, but as you're going to see, and this is mainly... I think this is most prominent in Gunner, and least prominent in Scout, is that secondary weapons, because obviously we are on the secondary weapon train, we're currently on the Gen 2 secondaries, they do have the aspect of, they are secondary weapons in a lot of cases, you know? Especially with Gunner, they are definitively sidearms. And I think that is sometimes the case with Driller as well. And in Engineer's case, while his secondaries are his more powerful weapons, they are more so to be whipped out in cases of emergency, you know? Except the Shard Diffractor. Scout, I think, is the one where both his weapons pretty much get equal play, I think. You're pretty much going to be using them just as much as each other. Anyway, I didn't really explain the mission. I guess I'm just kind of doing the lunar assignment, but that's a symptom of not having finished it on the live stream. I don't think we're going to stop doing those live streams, but obviously there was a bit of a change. I think, you know, it makes sense. Sometimes it's a little bit annoying when it comes to like a podcast, let's say, perhaps. But I think I completely understand Tyler's dejection with Deep Rock specifically, and I don't fault him for that, especially because he still is very much in like has Rocal in mind as a thing to focus on, be excited about. But he's really just I basically put off from even really thinking about or talking about Deep Rock, and I get it. Although it's not very useful. But obviously that meant he wasn't actually playing on the stream. He's just no longer really not a part of his gaming sphere. It's like getting the the event hats, right? And I think that's completely understandable. But it was a little bit of a different dynamic where obviously we actually talked a lot more but I didn't finish the assignment because I was a bit distracted by talking, which hopefully won't be the case for this because I'm more used to talking at a screen or at a microphone rather than to a person while playing this game after doing so many of these videos. So I don't think the streams will stop necessarily, but they could go away potentially. Obviously we'll still do things like live commentaries on Ghost Ship's live streams, so the anniversary stream and the Below Decks, well, on Horizons. And there will be loads more when Rogue Core comes out. There'll be plenty more streams. I think weekly, maybe even bi-weekly, so 2 a week potentially. We'll see. I know we'll want to be playing it a lot and definitely want to be recording a lot of us playing for the first time, but that's in the future still. Anyway, so I think I did want to talk about how I'm going to sort of do the videos now, as in these videos and the fact that they're not going to change at all. I thought about, after doing obviously the balancing video, I thought about introducing some more elaborate editing to these videos, where I might actually, instead of just, it's how I normally do it, I don't mind talking about it. I cut between moments of combat usually. Obviously I kind of keep it going for the first few minutes or so, like I am right now, and mainly because I'm talking right now. But I often cut between instances of combat because that's what shows off the build. I thought about employing my newfound proficiency for editing to basically cut between those moments more effectively. And basically what I normally do is use OBS, is just built in pause. I just pause the recording between bits, and obviously that's not too easy because it's like a normal laptop mouse pad, not an actual mouse. I would prefer an actual mouse, but I can't because I have to have two things plugged into the laptop. So the mouse is off the table. Anyway, that should be good. This is why the supplementary damage of Neurotoxin is so important, because it really makes the Burt's ammo go a lot further. I mean, we're already using a noticeable amount, I think, but you get the idea. The supplementary damage from Neurotoxin is really important. Anyway, so I thought about actually physically cutting, like manually cutting through editing. Unfortunately, first of all, that would make these videos take a lot longer than they need to. I think it's much easier for me to just pump them out like this. Obviously, they're not supposed to be low effort, but they are supposed to be really just gameplay. They don't really require editing, and they don't. So I'm not really going to up the amount of, on the fly editing that I do. I'm just going to keep it at that level. And another reason is because for editing I use Microsoft Office's. I think it's actually just built in. I don't think it's Microsoft Office even. But I just use Microsoft built-in editing software, which is Clipchamp, and it works for what I've done so far. But it has a weird thing where, with the gameplay, it kind of slows it down. There's something wrong with the bitrate when I've tried to use edited gameplay before. It's not. I don't know what it is, but it's not good for the whole video. Because they come out much better if I just record them like this. And so, obviously, going further would entail probably buying editing software, and it's kind of not really in our budget at the moment. I think you'll start to see some changes. I think once because I'm a student at the moment, so I think once I have an income, I think there'll be some changes. Obviously, the biggest one can be getting a PC before Rogue Core comes out, but I don't really want to do that until I'm earning money in some way. Also, you might be able to tell that I'm doing the typical escort duty strat of just digging ahead. If you can do it, it's kind of what you should do. As long as you can see the next room, you should probably dig to it. Even if that takes you to the Heartstone, it kind of makes the whole thing easier to just have all the nitro laid out. To have, like, done anything that you want to do beforehand. Like, especially if there's any, like, maybe rooms filled with stationary enemies, or, like, actual bosses waiting for you, like Betsy or Corlock, or even a Harold or a Prospector. Kind of things that you would want done before you really... The kind of things that you don't want to be a live fire obstacle while Doretta is on the move. It's really punishing when you run into those scenarios, so I'm just going to blitz through. If you haven't seen one of these videos before as well, you wonder why I'm ignoring jetty boots. Jetty boots completely skewer the power dynamic of the overclock, and will give it completely false representation, so there's no way I'm taking jetty boots. That's just how it works. It's a shame because jetty boots are fun, obviously, but like I said, they completely change your power level, just skyrockets when you use jetty boots, pun intended. Machine event. Okay, well, I'm going to actually just do some stuff in this room, I think. You know what I should do? I should actually kill a grunt with this. Oh, you see, there it goes. It's not going to body shot a grunt, I know that. Experimental rounds and lead spray would, of course. But yeah, I think I'll clear this room. I'll do the cargo crate and the machine event off screen, because Ebonite mutation is not the kind of machine event that shows off a build, you know. It's like you entirely use your pickaxe during it, so you know. Anyway, there is actually a pretty funny contrast, I think, between the ammo situation of these two weapons. Like, you're using something that is so efficient versus something that just isn't particularly efficient. Let's actually use the BAABB. Yeah, this is even annoying there because obviously we technically used, I think, 2 more bullets than we needed to. Might have just been 1, but still, it's enough. Also, these are batteries. Not quick batteries. Pretty much. It's not much of a difference. They were definitely repurposed. But yeah, you can just see how insane Neurotoxin is. And this isn't meant to be a Neurotoxin showcase, but I've kind of already explained the sort of secondary sidearm dynamic. So, look, this Praetorian, I mean, look how much more Neurotoxin ammo I have. How much more Thunderhead ammo I have. I don't really even want to use the BAABB against it. So, yeah, the BAABB isn't going to get much play during this mission, particularly. The next one, it will be a little bit more, but I do like a concentrated cluster. Anyway, I think I'm just going to get on with this machine event, so I'll see you afterwards. We're going to have just a mass of grunts here, and the thing about these lot, for the rest of this mission, Hearthstone excluded, obviously. Hearthstone extraction will be shown in full, but for the rest of this mission, I'm probably not going to show these groups of grunts because the BAABB is not coming out at all. Just thought I should clarify, because it is such a sidearm. In fact, I don't even really want to use it against web splitters, although here are some. Okay, obviously I knew it could one-shot them, but missing would be so punishing. Okay, and actually I do need to hit all 3 shots as well. That's crazy. I think it's very close actually to the exact amount of health that a web splitter has, actually. So it's really just, it's for those kind of things. I think, you know, I think an acid splitter, I'd probably neurotoxin it first. But the thing about neurotoxin is that it pretty much kills an acid splitter from like base health, from, like full health. It's pretty ridiculous. It's still really genuinely one of those few overclocks that I wouldn't complain about getting nerfed. Usually across the board, I don't like nerfs, and it's not even just because I don't like things being made less fun because, oh, you're just making it weaker. It's mainly because actually I think there's a lot of things in the game that need buffing, and I really don't like this idea, especially of things getting buffed, and that's kind of a way, or things getting nerfed, and it's kind of a way to basically avoid not buffing certain other things, where buffing is so much more interesting because buffing can entail actually adding new mechanics to a weapon, or to an overclock. Like when they buffed Double Barrel and completely changed it into a blast wave focused overclock. You can't really get that from nerfs. You don't get that from nerfs, and I think that's a shame. That's why I think there should be more buffs, and there usually are more buffs than nerfs. That's something I could actually give Ghost Ship. I don't know if we'll be seeing any soon. I think the possibility of a weapon balancing update being the only update we get between Season 5 and Road Core release isn't 0. But I'm not holding out hope either. Actually, I do want to test the acid splitter thing. Whether it can kill an acid splitter from full health. I'm not seeing the acid splitter. It might be dead. How did you not get feared? Is the acid splitter dead? I think it is, which means, yeah, Neurotoxin can kill an acid splitter from full health. It's probably too strong. Another thing. I guess I'm about to become a hypocrite pretty quickly. But I think I'm going to announce the cuts less as well, because I feel like I've always been like, oh, I'll see you in a minute, but you know, I feel like sometimes I just need to not announce them. Okay, it's another horde that I wouldn't necessarily have shown, but we do have a warden. Ah, you fucking. Bosco, really? Anyway, as you can see, you can pretty much kill a warden in like 4 bursts, or really just 3 with a bit of neurotoxin, have it on top. I think that is the way to do it. That's the only way we're getting any remote efficiency out of our Burt. Even then, I don't really think it's... I don't think it's good enough. I mean, it's running out of ammo so quickly, and yet we have the most efficient overclock in the game here to supplement it. I don't know, man. I don't know. You know, it's an okay... It's okay at killing. It's not like it... Yeah, that's the weird thing. It's not like it's actually bad at killing things. You know, it's not like it's using loads of ammo. It just doesn't have enough. You know? And that's why compact mags is just never going to be... Or is it compact round? I think it's compact mags. It's just not going to be beaten by this, you know? Even the next build, which I think has more standing for why you would use full chamber seal, as opposed to different overclock, you're still probably better with lead spray or the other clean. Not electromagnets though. I almost thought about saying that, but then I realised absolutely not, because there is still, unless you look, the only reason to use electromagnets is if you want some very specific like functionality of a sidearm that can sort of penetrate through enemies and inflict a damage over time effect at the same time. The only reason to do that, the only reason, is if you don't have a coil gun, and you also don't have either Hellfire or ultramagnetic coils, UMC. Let's say UMC. The only reason to use it. And honestly, even if you have Bulldog with magic bullets, you should probably still be using that instead. To be honest, it's such a terrible overclock. It's insane. It is. I might. And this would be separate from the actual Electromagnets Overclock showcase that will happen eventually, I guess. Even separate from that, I'm actually tempted to make a video about why it's so terrible. And yes, it would be glazing UMC. The video would be glazing UMC a lot. But I would still be right. It is a terrible overclock. Unlike this, which isn't, it's not electromagnets, you know? Full chamber seal is not electromagnets. It's just not that great. Just not that much reason to use it. Okay, an oppressor, that's good. That Praetorian will die to Neurotoxin. Well, I'll make sure it does. It probably won't die for one instance, but... And with the oppressor... Okay. I think it continues to show okay killing power, especially when supplemented, but... I'll try not to bring up compact rounds too much, but I just want you to know, if I'm going to, at any time that I complement it, even if it's going to do slightly better damage-wise than combat rounds, slightly, it's not changing any breakpoints, but it's going to be still technically doing slightly more damage. You can just do so much more of what we're doing with this overclock with compact rounds. It's just, there's no real competition, in my opinion. No competition. No, we can even do that with the Neurotoxin, and we're still going to have loads of ammo. I could get through like 2, maybe even 3 entire swarms with this amount of ammo. Ridiculous. Anyway, I'm going to go refuel the drill dozer. We on the move. I'm starting to come to something of a conclusion about electromagnets once again. Hold on a second. Okay, so the conclusion is that I am starting to feel compelled to make electromagnets hate piece, basically. Slander. The next like proper edited video, actually, because it'll be like, it's something I think I could genuinely have the passion to research properly and like gather all the footage needed and all just run all the numbers needed to really genuinely prove how bad it is. And it also probably wouldn't be as much work though as the other one. probably be able to get it out much quicker, and it could even be more tightly edited even, because it wouldn't be as long. It'd be, I can't imagine it even possibly being longer than an hour at most, you know? I mean, even then, that's probably a bit of a stretch. Is that a barrage infector? Oh no, it's one of these, which is fine. We'll do those. With Neurotoxin. Neurotoxin is amazing against scale brambles, which is nice, because it's a new enemy that Neurotoxin is particularly good against, which is not right, basically. That's not right. Although I am waiting for some reason. Okay, Burt time. Okay. I do like the Vartok, but it should have been a Corlock. I don't know why they felt they're so like schizophrenic when it comes to just creating new species for no reason, you know? They should have even reworked Spitballers to be Corlocks, and then the Barrage Infector could have been one as well. And then it could have been like an actual Corlock themed update, even. What was the other one? Oh, I guess it was the Core Spawn Creeper, or Crawler, and then the different Stalker, so you probably couldn't use those, really. You could have made the Stalker a Corlock. It could have been like a thing that sprouts out the ground and like then goes back in. Okay, so that's pretty easy. I should obviously talk about the fact that Neurotoxin is covering all of our tracks. It just fills in all the gaps that Full Chamber still leaves, but which means obviously by taking a different primary, I could have perhaps given Full Chamber still more chances to shine because we actually need to use it more often. But that's kind of the point I'm trying to make as well, is that it's better that I don't have to rely on a pretty shoddy overclock. So it's kind of like a way of me saying that if you really want to use Full Chamber Seal for some reason, take something like Neurotoxin. Take Neurotoxin, Burning Hell, or Cluster Charges, basically, I would say, are the go-tos. Maybe Mindless System would work as well, because it's still, the Burt is still pretty good against Mactera, so you don't need to worry too much about them with your primary, but take an overclock like that on your primary. You know, take one of those primary configurations. That's kind of what Full Chamber Seal demands, in my opinion. It's something, you know, something powerful and efficient. Because if you just like the punchiness of having a very responsive Burt with slightly more damage as well at no cost, I actually understand that desire, but you should still pair it with like one of the cheesier primary overclocks, I think. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's how I'm doing it. Not as much for the second build, I can honestly say. I'm trying to remember what it was actually. Oh, okay, it's Planter Buster Missiles, which isn't cheesy, but it is very strong. Forgive me, Lord. Anyway, get to the Hearthstone, I think. I know it. Except there is a Stalker somewhere, actually. What's Let's Do It from? I know it. Can't remember. I genuinely can't remember what that's from. It's fairly recent though. I'll try and remember doing this. Not Smiling Friends. I don't think it is anyway. Could be. No, it's not. I know it. It's not. It's not coming to me, is it? It's gone. And I think seeing what we just did to that Goo Bomber is why, I think that exemplifies why the stun is important, because otherwise the Goo Bomber would just keep moving. In fact, it would keep moving so much that our 6-round burst might not even entirely hit it because it's still moving, while we're trying to put out a 6-round burst into a single fast-moving enemy. I think the stun really works in our favour here. Oh, is that? That's cages. Yeah, the cages are coming. Anyway, so yeah, this will mostly be a fucking Neurotoxin showboat. Which is why I'm hoping we get the floating rocks actually, because they'll be the thing that Full Chamber Seal is best for. But I'm just thinking about Deep Scan as a mission, right? And how it's like, we weren't inherently expecting a mission type for Season 5. It wasn't necessarily the thing that felt most needed. I think we were probably actually, before it got announced, probably hoping more so for biomes than mission types. But then they started to say things closer to the time about how, or even really like before, like the previous year even, about how if they were to do another mission type anytime soon, they'd probably want it to be something a bit closer to the first bunch, like Mining Expedition and all that. And that sounded actually really good and made a mission type sound like a much more attractive prospect for something to be added soon. It just wasn't necessarily what was expected because it didn't feel like a priority. But I think when you look at how good Deep Scan is and how the last few mission types that have been added had been a little bit mixed in terms of response, especially Escort Duty, mainly Escort Duty and Industrial Sabotage. Obviously not Oil Refinery, that went down very well, but in general it's kind of been like, the last few mission types weren't like, not everyone was on board with them. In fact, in some cases I would say most people aren't actually really that on board with Escort Duty. So thank God they actually chose to do that. I think it felt, Deep Scan is something that felt necessary after it was added, and I think that's really nice because it shows that they can do things that you're not inherently anticipating being the best thing for them to add, and it ends up being that. You know, I hope we get biomes for Season 6, but I think it was better that we got a mission type this time than biomes. I think biomes are in a really good spot, so they'll really just be a bonus, you know. I still think that's very likely to be the sort of the headline feature, is a biome or even possibly 2 biomes in Season 6, but it's not as necessary, I think, as Deep Scan was, because there aren't really any biomes that are like problems, I don't think. There are some that are worse than others. I think some people really don't like the Hollow Bow, which kind of annoys me, to be honest. I don't understand that. But there are some that are worse than others and some that are obviously nicer than others. Also, no flying rocks. But they are in a really good spot where there are none that kind of ruin the bunch. You know, there's none that spoil the pack, I guess. Sorry for burping. Not very nice, is it? Quite rude. My apologies. Pardon me. But then again, there's not really anything outside of missions, and biomes are the absolute top of that stuff. And if we're looking at Season 6 being very similar to Season 5 anyway, we're probably going to get a smattering of warnings and anomalies as well. Maybe even more secondary objectives, although I don't think that's particularly necessary. I think it's much easier to have an idea that's worth adding for mutators than it is for secondary objectives. What would be nice is getting some machine events, I think. Some people would like that. I understand that season events are kind of a replacement for that, but fleshing out the machine event pool would be really nice. So basically adding an event that is not seasonal, basically. That's why I would even love them to add another boss encounter like Betsy and Korok. And on top of that, another Dreadnought to add to the rotation. I think that is kind of where Season 6 will be going when they do get round to it. I think they very clearly want to do a, not necessarily like a raid boss, like really, but still a shot at like a Dreadnought Queen or something very close to it, you know? Maybe literally like just before a cocoon like fully turns into a queen. Something like that. Anyway, so I guess that went well, but let's be honest, it's because I'm using Neurotoxin. Anyway, I'll get that last Payload cap, and then we'll get out of here. Okay, it's time to leave. I guess I could try and employ some takeaways. What did I really learn from this about Full Chamber Seal? Not much. It's pretty much just as okay, but not really worth using as I thought, you know? And I don't think that's necessarily okay. You know, I think an overclock would be better than this. I don't know how you would do it though. Full Chamber Seal is kind of one of those ones where I think if you make it strong, if you add a clean that adds a noticeable amount of damage to the Burt, suddenly, I think lead spray would be fine, but I think experimental rounds and compact rounds would both immediately suffer a lot. I think experimental rounds already usually gets left in favour of lead spray. And if there's a clean that added like, let's say it added like 5 damage or something, because experimental rounds is like, what is it, 12 or something, and the lead spray is like 23 or something. No, 30. Not actually that crazy, is it? Either way, let's say it's even add 3 or 4 damage, just say something like that. That's still enough to make a difference, quite often. That's the kind of difference where you could easily just, even only one shot would need to hit a grunt in the head to one-shot grunt. With like, as long as the burst hits, I think if only one of them hits the weak point, I think that'll do it, and that's even without the weak point multiplier. I think it wouldn't take much to make full chamber seal actually like pretty dangerously competitive. So it is difficult. I think they should probably bring it up to at least 2, and then maybe really go in for like the reload speed aspect, because I think that's a good part of it. I mean, I don't think the other one though adds a magazine size, so maybe it could do that as well. I don't know. I think there are ways to do it without like turning it into something crazy, but I don't know. Anyway, is that going to be the mission we do, or are we going to do elimination? Probably not an elimination actually, because elimination will just be a fucking plasma burster fest. So robots, but it's rich atmosphere. You know, I'm going to wait for the rotation to change while I explain the next build. Like I've already said, it does use plasma bursters, but there's a little bit more going on. Obviously, the approach to these is that I make the 2 most different builds that I can with the overclock. I think are at least like passable. They're not going to fucking get you through an elite deep dive without thinking, or that get you through like has 5 plus. Is it has, what do they call it? Do they call it has 5 plus plus 8? Is that it? That's what they call it. Some people call it that. Anyway, so yeah, this uses plasma bursters, and it turns the it's supposed to be a little bit of a crowd clearer, kind of. This is not the actual setup here is not correct. It should actually be like this. So I've never thought about the fact that the Burt's got blow through in tier 1. That doesn't look right at all. Does anyone else feel like that? That looks weird. Oh yeah, I want to actually find out how much experimental rounds added. 8. That's actually 9, and then 11. So it's not a massive difference between these 2, really, is it? Which is why I prefer experimental rounds, actually. Anyway, so yeah, we've got blow through and rate of fire and stuff like that, magazine size and ammo, and 6-round burst. You're basically just sending out these big like blow through bursts that are supposed to take out lots of clumped enemies at once. So it's really mainly used when we have groups of enemies clumped together on relatively flat ground. But our ammo count is still unstable enough where that gets used up more than well enough. And basically, in its stead, to cover all other ground, we have something that is good at both crowd clearing, but very good at single target, which is, of course, plasma bursting missiles, built relatively generically, mainly for damage, but we actually get a good amount of extra ammo per taking the magazine size. And that's kind of it. And stuns to kind of just keep enemies in place. Nitroglycerin's never going to cut it. I'm sorry. I wish it was. I wish nitroglycerin was good, but it's such a good idea, but it's just not gonna. It's not quite there. So yeah, it's a fairly simple build. But it's maybe using the Burt in a way that you wouldn't normally. It is kind of like a weird crowd clearer, but we kind of can use the We can kind of use the Hurricane for that as well at the same time. Where we can't really use the Burt as a single target weapon. It doesn't really work. Also, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I thought about it, but then I was like, no. Do I want to do... Actually, I suppose I could do this later if I wanted to. Probably won't. Probably won't. Let's do this one. I don't think I want to do... Yeah, let's just keep it simple. Probably the best way to show this off. I don't think there's much to gain from pushing an overclock for no reason. You know? There's no reason to put it on like the hardest mission. I don't think that really... It's not fair. Especially to an overclock that I already know is relatively mediocre. It's kind of just like, I'm just sort of... I'm kicking it while it's down, and I don't need to. It doesn't benefit anyone really to be like, oh, look at this really hard mission with this overclock that isn't meta. Oh, look how bad it is. But yeah, obviously. It's just not really... It's not that it's unfair, because they think in an ideal world every overclock would be meta enough where if you're good enough you can use it on the hardest mission well. But we don't live in an ideal world, so I don't think it's really right to be just go to like the hardest mission possible and like use that to show how an overclock is bad. I just don't think that's particularly correct. So Spitball Effector, in this case, this is Hurricane job. Yeah. Plasma missiles, I don't think it's overpowered, but it does have a level of single target efficiency that is pretty just ridiculous. The only exception really is suppressors, which is like not good against. Oh, look at that, we got the hold on a second. That didn't seem right. Okay, so this is a Glyphid egg with a secondary objective. The smaller ones. That also is. So the bigger ones are as well. Huh. Okay. I don't know if that's so actually, because the bigger eggs don't normally spawn in Hollow Bow anyway. So I'm wondering if they actually added those in as part of the secondary objective as well. And I like this, by the way. That was a giant swarmer, right? That wasn't. I'm not crazy. That's bigger than it should be. What the fuck? Okay. Kind of lucky there to have gotten the sort of flat ground that I'm looking for when it comes to using the burp, but we got it and did an okay job. Obviously, it doesn't really have stopping power as a symptom of not taking the burst, but I think, yeah, so I think that was really taking the 6-round burst is really just a differentiation method. I don't think there's actually any real good reason to take it other than you just want it to feel different. I don't think the benefits outweigh. In fact, I think it's more negatives than benefits anyway, because it's just making you less ammo efficient. Like, and not even potentially. I think you're pretty much guaranteed to end up using more ammo than you need to at least a couple times by using that. So I don't have much really anything good to say about the 6-round burst upgrade. And while Plasma Bursters is very good against Macteras in isolation, grouped Macteras, especially when they're spaced apart, are a problem because it doesn't kill things instantly, and you kind of have to hold your crosshairs on them to kill them. That's the biggest problem. You have to hold it while also strafing to avoid incoming fire, and that's not easy. Even for me, I struggle quite a bit. I don't think that's a bulk. I think it's just an oppressor, right? Actually, no. Actually, that is a bulk, isn't it? Yeah, that's a bulk. That's a bulk. There we go. Hello, sir. Where'd they go? Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh! No! Oh, the nefarious Stingtail. Oh, at least it's dead. Hello, Victorian. Goodbye, Praetorian. Okay, that was a bit stressful, wasn't it? Caesars, right? Not sure. Not particularly great, actually. Hello, sir. Oh, good evening. Fuck me. So yeah, it probably would be better with the stun, to be honest. I think I just wanted to use a 6-round burst. God, I had a weird moment the other day in Terraria. I hope you don't mind me talking about this. I think that's just what I'm doing. I was just I might play in the Underworld. I don't know what's in the Underworld. I think it was actually in the Crimson. No. I don't know where I was. I know I was underground though, and I just encountered a chest. Oh, dungeon. It's in the dungeon. I just saw a chest basically hopping towards me. Well, okay. I mean, I guess that's a mimic, but that's not really how mimics normally move. I went up to it, and then I could click on it. So I clicked on it, and then a fucking gentleman slime pops out. And I just went, oh, hello, good evening. It was just a split-second reaction. It's like, that's the only way I could respond to that, really. So yeah, that's interesting. Actually, I don't know. Actually, no, I think I do know why I turned unpaused. I think I want to kill these guys with the bird. Well, that's going to take some effort because I'm going to have to position myself quite particularly, and there's no way I'm going to be able to do it without shielding. Yeah, because I can't really get the angle naturally, or rather safely. I'm going to have to shield, especially with these Sabonite. And now I actually knew that would happen, so that's on me. Okay, we didn't damage to the one behind. Could have been better. Oh, he's still firing. Oh no! Yeah, Plasma Burster's not very good against tiny enemies. I don't think I would necessarily expect it to be either, but it'd be nice if it wasn't terrible. See, it's good enough to justify not being great against tiny enemies. It's not really one. Yeah. Yeah. What I get for taking a build that has, like, obviously has no stopping power. Obviously, Plasma Bursters does against single enemies, but not against groups. Not really. And it's not good against Oppressors either. Another weakness that it has. Okay. So you might be asking, Harry, how would this be going better if you were perhaps not using full chamber still? Well, that's an easy answer, because I'd be using the coil gun, or probably Magic Bullets Bulldog, and I would just be stopping everything with stun, like group stun and fear, and killing them all with damage over time from electricity or neurotoxin. It would be a very simple equation. I would not find these situations difficult without a different secondary weapon. And also, I guess you could change the primary as well, but that's the thing. Plasma Burst missiles is more of a single target overclock, so you really should be using something like the things I just mentioned with it. And obviously that's why we did very well with the previous build. We had an insanely powerful crowd clearing primary with a decent single target secondary. But now we have an incredible single target primary that's okay at crowd clearing, with something that is just barely okay at both. In fact, I wouldn't, maybe not even okay. It's probably not good, to be honest. And I don't necessarily think the Burt is meant to be used for crowd clearing, even with electromagnets. But it would be nice. I already did. Okay, I thought so. Okay. Honestly, that's pretty overkill for the Praetorian. I think it's literally only like 6 or something missiles can actually do it, which is ridiculous. Yeah, this is definitely the worst build. I maybe could have done myself a favour by probably using something that wasn't neurotoxin, because I think that skewers things a bit. Maybe I should have used something like fragmentation missiles, something a bit more palatable. You know, not as overpowered of a crowd clearing option, but still something good. But then again, I guess basically where that would be fair is the fact that it's not like this is actually good at crowd clearing. This. Obviously, it was pretty decent single target damage, so it was kind of justified. But like, in this case, I've taken something that's really good at single target with Plasma Bursters. But it's not like, I guess it's basically like, let's take something extremely, on the primary weapon slot, let's take something extremely good at crowd clearing, and in the other build take something that's extremely good at single target. And then build the Burt for the opposite thing with the overclock in mind. And so it's clearly better for single target, full chamber seal that is. It's clearly not meant to be used for what I'm using it for, and that's what that's why I find the blow through mod on the Burt a little bit dubious, because it's clear that it really only works well with electromagnets, but which is an overclock that still remains terrible regardless. It's a bit of a shame for that upgrade, because I don't think a blow through upgrade necessarily is bad. In a lot of cases they're actually quite good, like the mini guns one, very good. And the M1000s as well is also a very good blow through upgrade. But this one, it doesn't really have the synergy to make it make sense, really. I think even the Bulldog probably gets a bit more use out of a blow through. Not as much. Bulldog's blow through isn't great. Anyway, it's just, I think we should just steamroll the rest of this mission. Right, there is one in there. Is it? Huh? Oh. Oh dear, I pretty much calculated that. In there though. I swear I was pointing at Stabavine when I clicked that. Wasn't I? I think I was. Makes sense. Anyway, go on guys. Let's get it over with. Bug sign. Bug sign. Oh, you don't say. Look at that, that's the one scenario where this build is good. Or this configuration is good. I guess what really should be done is kiting to make this work, but, you know, Gunner's not really meant to kite enemies. Just throw an incendiary, just do the job. Fuck this. Also, I am keeping in mind that I don't have any revives left. In case you're wondering, there's a reason why Bosco doesn't have maximum revives. I think it's because a mining speed upgrade is in one of those slots that would be a revive, and that mining speed upgrade is the best Bosco upgrade. It's so good, ridiculous. It just makes things so much smoother. It has made me reliant on Bosco for collecting items, but I think it's justified, that one. And it means that he's not like out of commission because he takes like 2 minutes to mine fucking Jaders. But once again, I mean, the primary weapon is so much more efficient than secondary, and I can kind of just use it to do everything as well. Yeah, thank for that. Oh dear. Whoa. Okay. Wow. Okay, let's get that last egg and get the fuck out of here. There it is. Okay. I don't really know what to say about it at this point. I have not observed anything that makes me, like, you know, feel like taking this is better than taking compact rounds, and I need to confirm that's what the overclock's actually called when I get out of here. And I knew this was going to be a swarm as well, I knew the numbers. Ugh. Come on, let's do it. I might actually die during this. Let's just take a resupply. What am I doing? And yes, this is going to be plasma burst and missile spamming, but fucking care. Alright, I'm going to fight the rest of the swarm with the BAABB. I'm not going to blame it on the Stingtail situation there. I know it's not going to pierce through its armor very well. Although the BAABB, hold on, the BAABB, I think it's one of the weapons that has a lower than default armor breaking. So I think I can blame the BAABB for that. And I think that's how Ghost Shipping are getting away with having armor breaking compete with ammo. But it doesn't change anything. I didn't actually end up getting that lost pack in the previous mission. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear, what a bother. Alright, let's go. Let's leave. Enough of that, enough of full chamber seal. God, what a stupid overclock. It might not get much better. We're doing the EPC next week, but the thing is, the EPC, what the EPC has, it always has different ways to build it baked into its upgrades. Its tier 5s are so dynamic that it's so easy to get two distinct and like valid builds out of it, no matter what the overclock is. So I'm not even worried about that. And you might be frightened to hear that my preference, actually, the thing I want to really, if anything, if there's any EPC overclock I want to cover, it's actually Overcharger, which is crazy because it probably is the worst EPC overclock, but I like it for some reason. I like the idea of it being, of trying to find a build that works for it. I don't think it's impossible. I think I can probably do it. It's not going to be easy though. It's definitely not going to be easy. Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm getting overcharged next week anyway. Well, that was full chamber seal though. Brilliant stuff. So, do I recommend this overclock? I don't recommend it over. I want to get the name right of the balanced ammo box, so just give me a second, please. Okay, so I think I've been getting it more wrong than right. So it's compact mags. So yeah, do I recommend this overclock? I cannot recommend it over composite casings or compact mags. Other overclocks, though, I can easily say it's fine to use it over microflechettes, and definitely recommend it over electrominelets. And experimental rounds and lead spray, while they offer a lot more damage, they do have more considerable downsides. So I think there are reasons to use full chamber seal, but they are minimal and are quickly surpassed once you get certain overclocks like compact mags. And opposite casings less so, but I think with compact mags there is no competition. If you want a clean, if you basically want a clean BAABB that can just do shit, it's flexible as hell, really build it any way that you want, and just always have lots of ammo. Compact mags is just the go-to. I kind of think it's the best BAABB overclock. Maybe you understand why. Anyway, obviously you can stick around to see what my next overclock is going to be, but until then, if you enjoyed this, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this and you want to stay on top of everything to do Deep Rock and Road Core, then please click the bell as well. And I'll see you next week for the EPC. Speaking of which, it's time to find out what our EPC overclock will be. So if you haven't seen this part of the video before, basically I use a Wheel of Fortune to choose the overclock for the given weapon, and we number the overclocks left to right, top to bottom. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we use our wheel, which I'll show you in a second, to achieve that random selection. I think magnetic cooling unit, I don't actually know if I've ever even used this overclock. There's actually a couple of these on Driller. The other one is yeah, the same icon as well, liquid cooling system. There's one on the Drac as well that does the same thing pretty much. It's just pure clean nonsense for people who for some reason get enough value out of the base weapon. So let's hope it's not. That's probably the only one that I don't want right now. I think I want something a little bit more interesting, and I can make any of these more interesting than that. So let's turn our attention to the Wheel of Fate. There he is. I think that's Tom Cruise. I'm not sure. And find out what overclock will be. Just not one. Okay, it's not one. Good. I'm actually not. I can't remember what exactly the things look like, so I'm not sure. Is that 3? That's 3. So we can remove 3. Let's go back. Is it persistent plasma? It is. Persistent plasma. Okay, I can do persistent plasma. That's perfectly fine. It's a very good overclock. So you can look forward to that next week. Persistent plasma. Create storage space. Your computer's running low on storage space. Oh no.
Oh, I like that.
What drink companies Paul Chambers seal? Fucking leaf lovers.
One leaf lover, and can I get it thin with some water?
Get it thinned as well. Yeah. Okay, great. Anyway. I'll see you next time.